So I hope this video actually makes it somewhere, because this is the first video that I have had absolutely no plan other than one single idea to do video. So that video is, the idea is, by the way, it's Saturday night, 1:45 a.m. So Sunday morning, 1:45 a.m. Been out having a few beers with a friend, and the idea was that I would make a video about things about transition that I didn't expect, both good and bad, I suppose, but I don't even have a list thought up in my head. But I'll go ahead and go through just some general random thoughts about that. I don't know what expectation. I didn't know anyone who transitioned before I started transitioning, so I didn't really have any expectations, and no way to gauge, what transition would be like and how, what I'd be experiencing as I transition. And I think one of the first things I noticed was, like, I became like a very strong feminist. Like, and I was always considerate of how women felt and try to understand it, but more and more I'm understanding that. And I guess since I was socialized as a boy, I find myself trying to oppose the male-female dichotomy that's in our society, that the inequities that I see, when I talk to other women about it, I find that they don't really see it the same way. I'm surprised, a lot of women anyway. So that was surprising to me, that I would feel that strongly about it. Another thing was my feet. Like, I didn't, who would have thought that my feet would look different after hormones? I mean, I really wish that I would have taken a picture of my feet before I started transitioning, so that I could take a picture now and like have a before and after, because it really is like amazing how much difference there is in my feet these days, and my hands, and even I don't know still, but things about my body that changed significantly due to hormones that I hadn't really expected to, and all of them I've been very, very happy with. So it's not like anything happened there that was unexpected. Well, I mean, it was unexpected, but unwanted maybe. And another thing was, I think before I started transitioning, I found like 5% of people in the world attractive, and I didn't limit my definition of attractive to male or female, but just that 1 in 20 people were attractive, and the rest were either average or not attractive. And now, like, I think that probably 33%, like 1 in 3 people, are attractive to, I find people to be attractive in their ways, and I don't know. It's a much less structured, less black and white sort of definition of that, and I find individuals so much more interesting to me now. And whereas before I used to try to blend in and be with everyone else and not stick out and make sure no one saw me, so I find people who are individuals much more interesting. Let's see if I can think of anything else. Oh, well, actually, everything. I was never, I didn't understand things on so many different levels, although at the time I had no understanding, and now I'm starting to understand, like, feelings and huge mood swings and emotional changes, like in a day, where I can feel like this is the best day in the world, and then a couple hours be like totally unhappy, in despair because of something that happened, or some feeling that I'm feeling. And that before was like unheard of for me. That was, I was always straight across with little spikes of anger, which I don't have any anger anymore. But transitions kind of put me in a place where I'm not in control of that, and it's a positive thing. It's a positive change. I feel like it's me evolving towards more understanding of everyone around me. But at the same time, I have no coping mechanisms on how you deal with that. I mean, I have no experience with that, and I didn't go through a period of time when I was younger that happened all the time, and I figured out how to deal with it. So it's interesting when it happens. I do notice it for what it is, but it's still tremendously difficult for me to process and make sure that I don't, get caught up in the bad times. I mean, certainly I'm going to enjoy every happy minute that I have, but if I have, time or experience that brings me down, then, I need to pay attention and I don't know, try to exert some of that control that I had before, but I'm not finding myself very capable at that. And to do with self-control in general, I used to, when I made a decision about something, that was it. I mean, period. I could decide not to drink water for 3 days, and I wouldn't drink water for 3 days, but I didn't make that decision. But I mean, something like that. I could just decide I'm going to lose 3 pounds this week. I would lose 3 pounds this week. I mean, there was just no. I had this determination that was, unstoppable. And now I find myself I don't have that willpower. I have I'll make myself promises I'm not going to do this, and then minutes later I will kind of rationalize it or try to make some sort of argument for, and then I'm doing it, and I realize at the time that I do not want to do that, and it's so interesting to me, and it's something that I've seen people do all my life that I never understood. I could not understand how people would do things like that. So I think that's again positive, but it's hard sometimes for me to deal with it and figure it out. I had just thought of an experience this week, which is not necessarily good about. It's not about my transition or things I didn't expect, but well, maybe it is. We had a new employee come in, and I had to help, set up his computer and his email and things like that. And when I did all the work the first morning he was there, he was like, "Thank you, ma'am," and used feminine pronouns the whole time, and I was thinking, wow, that's really cool that this new person, perceives me this way and treats me this way and shows me respect. Basically, I don't necessarily think it was a matter of me passing or not passing. I don't think in those terms, but I think it more of a respect that this person was doing. Was showing me the respect that I like to have. And then, a couple of days later, he started using terms like buddy and dude and things like that, and so I was like, well, something's changed a little bit, it seems like. But and then one night he called me for help to access his email at home after hours, and we had a conversation. He said a couple of things that were like buddy dude, but not exactly those. And then at the very end of the conversation, he said, "Thank you, sir." And I was absolutely livid. I mean, I was not in a situation where I could call him on it at the time, and so I had to hang up the phone call. And the entire night, it very, very much affected me. Whereas in the past, I don't think something like that would necessarily. I feel like I would have. It doesn't really matter what he thinks necessarily, I think is what my previous thought would have been. This time it kind of was about that I wasn't being respected in my workplace, and that I was taking a phone call after hours to help him with his email, and I was getting disrespected. And it had a huge effect on me, and I went